So at this point, we're going to welcome Kenroy Kerr. Kenroy, welcome.
Good evening, sir. Good evening to your listeners and viewers. It's always a pleasure to be on your programs.
All right, awesome. Thank you for accepting my invite. When I saw the audited results yesterday, I thought I'd invite you on because I'm almost certain that every Dollar shareholder is asking about the Guyana operations, but we'll get there. I just wanted to ask you, how have things been for Q1? I know you may not be able to tell me much, but how has the year been for Dolla Financial? Let me ask it that way instead.
Let me just say it's very positive so far. Of course, at this point in time, I wouldn't be able to disclose too much in terms of the performance for Q1. We are obligated to inform our investors through the stock exchange before we are able to discuss those results, and we're actually working on the results for Q1 as we speak. So as soon as that information becomes available, then we will be able to comment more on those. But of course, at Dolla, we lend, so we have been lending. The brand is doing pretty well. Our subsidiary Ultra continues to do exceptionally well. So as soon as the results are out, then we'll be able to share some more information as it relates to Q1. You'd have seen that we published our results for the audited results for 2023, which for the most part is consistent with relatively consistent with all that we would have published for Q4 unaudited. And you'd have seen where the profits, the loan portfolio, the return, the share, the return on the return would have remained the same as we would have published in the unaudited, and that is really a good thing. It shows consistency, and it shows that the figures that we report are actually very credible. ECL and all of those other aspects of the reporting that we do on a quarterly basis. So we're happy that we were able to publish the audited without much changes, and most importantly, we were able to do it on time.
Yes, I can just see Trevine's face now, right? It has to be on time and it has to be accurate, right?
And it has to be accurate, right?
Yes. And then, of course, as you mentioned, right? So you have been doing quarterly earnings calls since 2022. And of course, you also started recently doing the Mayberry Forum as well. So I'm sure persons, if they want to dig into some more information about how you did for Q1 2024, that would be the point to do it. And that's about a month away. Right, I imagine. Right. So yeah, that's no pressure, right? All right. So I wanted to talk to you about the highlight that I saw. So I started to go through the results. I mean, of course, would have been familiar with Q4, would have done the earnings call, etc. And then, of course, we started to see the conversation around the notice of the winding down. So talk to us about that. What went into that decision to wind down operations in Guyana?
All right, so the first part is that in our audited financials published 2 days ago, well, would have been uploaded on the Jamaica Stock Exchange website 2 days ago. There have been a subsequent event which notes the strategic wind down of Dolla, and of course on the Jamaica Stock Exchange website, we would have published a notice today to inform our investors formally of our intention of our decision to strategically wind down. And the winding down of Guyana, it really signifies a strategic decision for us that is really aimed at mitigating the potential risk associated with what's happening in Guyana in terms of the geopolitical crisis. And by gradually ceasing operations in Guyana and relocating resources to Jamaica, which of course, by far, it produces a better return. We really aim to enhance our efficiency and to fulfill the commitment to shareholders, which is delivering value for them.
So, are you saying that everything is centered around the tension or the conflict that's been happening, based on what you just said?
That's a primary factor, and of course, having looked and done assessment on the events in Guyana based on the geopolitical tension with Venezuela, we having done that assessment and actually looking again at the overall what we can do by reallocating those resources to Jamaica and the return that we can get from Jamaica, which far exceed those in Guyana, then that would have resulted in us making that final decision.
Okay. So I see Simon asking, what geopolitical risk specifically are you trying to mitigate against?
There are a lot of uncertainty surrounding the border dispute between Venezuela and Guyana at the current moment, and it does create a lot of economic uncertainty in Guyana itself, and again just weighing that with all the other associated risk of the tension, whether it is access to funding, whether it is just the ease of doing business based on all of those developments. The company thought it best to cease operation there strategically over time, and again to reallocate all of those resources here in Jamaica, where the demand is great for our service, and the return again is more than what we get in Ghana. So it's not we have been operating in Guyana since 2021. We would have had 2 full years of operation, being 2022, 2023, and we have consistently produced good results in Guyana. We have been profitable, but at the end of the day, it's all about ensuring the viability, and we think that this decision is most prudent at this point in time.
So Kenroy, so what I'm hearing you saying, can let me know if I'm on the right track here. Is it that, and so you've mentioned that you've been there for the last 2 years. You've been trending in the right direction. Is it a matter of you saying, well, we're deploying these resources in Guyana, we'll ultimately make more in Jamaica, let's shift those resources so we can maximize on it here, especially with the uncertainty that you have?
Especially with uncertainty. That's correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So what is involved in our winding down process, right? So you mentioned a date of May 2025, I believe. What would you need to do? Is that time mainly just to ensure that all existing loans are going through their natural completion? Does that mean you're not going to issue any new loans? Like, talk to us about some of the details as to what the winding down process would look like.
So the winding down of the operation in Guyana, we expect that this will be done in a phased basis and should be completed. We're working to complete and close operations there on or before March 31st, which is the end of the first Q1 of 2025. And this timeline really allows for the runoff of the loans that we have currently in our portfolio, and to really ensure a smooth transition for employees, for customers, for partners. So we have time to wind down. The process is a phased approach. So right now we have ceased lending in Guyana, and the focus is more on really collecting what we have lent over the next several months.
Okay. So is it that, okay, well, so you answered the question I was going to ask, right? So if somebody in Guyana is interested in a loan now, is it that you don't lend to them at all, or do you direct to them, or do it through Jamaica?
All right. So right now we in Jamaica we don't do the cross-border lending. So right now if we have a customer who is interested, unfortunately, in Guyana, we wouldn't be able to fulfill that demand at this point in time.
Okay. So even if that loan is within the time that you're expecting to end?
That's correct. Because it wouldn't, if you're winding down, Jermaine, it would make sense to still be disbursing, and you have an end date. So what you might find is that strategically, the date that you plan to exit, you might still have loans that would have passed that maturity date, and then we might have a little concern there. So the intention is really to have the runoff, the natural runoff, which at the moment it goes up to somewhere close to that time frame that we have set. that we should be able to recover the funds that we have lent fully.
Okay. So does that mean now for your regional expansion plans?
So while the decision to wind down operations in Guyana, it represents a shift in our earlier focus it appears to represent a shift, that is, in our earlier focus to expand regionally. It really doesn't distract from our expansion plans. I mean, right now, again, I've said it on the prior earning call that our focus over the last several months and going into 2025 is really on fulfilling the demand in Jamaica and expanding our services in Jamaica in regions that we don't even have a physical location, but there's a demand for a product. So we continue to push and to fulfill those demands in Jamaica, while if there are opportunities that allows us to expand regionally, then that is something that we will still explore. But right now, the decision really reflects our strategic reallocation of resources to where we have a greater demand and where we have a potential to get a greater return for investors, and that's Jamaica at this point in time.
So based on those targets that I would have heard you mention in terms of your ambitious goals for 2024, do you think you can achieve that through Jamaica only?
Again, we're open to exploring other market opportunities, Jermaine, but if the demand that we have on a monthly and a quarterly basis, we of course would not have made a decision in February to wind down operation in Guyana. We didn't just do that in one day or 1 week or 1 month. This is something that we would have been assessing for quite some time, and we would have recrafted our budget and everything just to ensure that we're still able to meet those targets, which are very ambitious for 2024, and we will be able to do that without the contribution from Guyana. Again, pulling resources from Guyana, putting it in Jamaica, should in fact give us a greater return on those funds.
Okay. All right. So I think we have some questions from the chat here. So let me get to them, because I promised you this will be a short interview. So I want to keep my word.
I think my time is up. I'm just kidding. You can go ahead.
Craig is saying, wasn't Guyana a strategic move? It was one of the things touted by the former CEO. I believe he's speaking about Kadeem Mears. I believe you would have answered that already, Kenroy, but I don't know if you wanted to add anything further to it.
I'd say that as a company, you have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible, and when issues come up, then you have to make decisions that are best for the company at that point in time. So we would have gone to Guyana because it was a great opportunity, and again, it's a case where we have been consistently we have produced solid results in Guyana. So we're not leaving Guyana because we are making a loss or there's a concern about the company itself and ability to lend and meet the budgeted expectation from Guyana. It's just based on the developments that we have shifted focus at this point in time.
Okay. All right. Simon is asking, what's the level of non-performing loans in Guyana?
Guyana non-performing loan is somewhat consistent with what we have in Jamaica at this point in time. I think we would have up to December, we were probably sub 10% in Guyana, so that continues to be the case.
Okay. All right. So Craig is asking, is Dolla being closed out completely, or is there an entity seeking to buy you out in Guyana?
At this point in time, the decision taken is to wind down. However, we're exploring other means by which we can successfully exit without it having a negative impact on our overall results that we intend to deliver.
Okay, so if somebody comes or somebody's in Guyana or somebody wants to enter that market, you're willing to have at least have those discussions to see if it makes sense.
Definitely.
Okay. Simon is asking which business segment is the Guyana resources being pushed to?
So that would be Ultra and Dollar Jamaica. I mean, there's a great demand for both both segments, whether it's the luxury lending or Dollar Jamaica. And I mean, when the funds are relocated to Jamaica, of course, through Treasury, we'll be able to make that allocation depending on where we see the need.
Okay. Philip says winding up the Guyana operation sounds like a great move. Focus on Jamaica, and if you expand the, so I can't read the last word there, but Philip is saying great move. Craig is asking, is Dollar consolidating its assets in Jamaica to purchase a company in Jamaica? I think he's asking if you're making this move to ultimately maybe have some acquisition in Jamaica.
If that were the case, I would not be able to answer Craig at this point in time, even if that were the case. So I guess Craig can just watch and see if there are any further developments where that is concerned.
Okay. Rob is saying great move to wind down the opportunities in Jamaica, so deploy the capital here. And then he says whenever Jamaica is exhausted, then you can look elsewhere.
Thanks for that advice.
Philip is asking, are there plans to leverage synergies with SVL's various microfinance arms?
That again is I mean, if anything, it's not something that I can comment on at this point in time. All entities, SVL, microfinance companies are separate from Dollar at this point in time. And if there is any further development, then of course the public will be aware of that, will be notified of such.
Okay. I know that it's something that persons have been waiting to say, especially with your current company structure.
Okay.
Simon is asking, is Dollar looking to secure loan books in Jamaica?
There are opportunities in the market for some amount of consolidation. I do believe that still exists, and it's something that we have a keen eye on. But at this point in time, I wouldn't be able to comment much on that either.
Okay. Craig is asking, what of your microcredit license? I believe that was already issued, right?
A long time ago, like about a year and a half now, would have been in compliance with that.
Okay. Rob is saying this move makes him more confident in the management team, so it seems Rob is happy. Okay, Simon is asking, how concentrated is the portfolio for Ultra?
So Ultra portfolio, there are established limits in our lending for both Dollar and its subsidiaries. So I can say that there isn't one industry that represents more than a third of the portfolio, but I do know that there are a lot of loans that goes towards the transportation, the construction industry. A lot of persons are seeking our support, seeking our services to kind of help kickstart some projects, or just to get that project, get that model unit, for example, completed, so that they can start collecting down payments and things like those. And all of those are coming on a short term basis. But I would say that the portfolio is well concentrated to ensure that the risks are minimized.
Okay. Ingrid is asking, what was the share of profit made from Guyana in comparison to that of Jamaica?
Guyana represents, the loan portfolio itself in Guyana represents about 5% of the portfolio, 5 to 7%. That has been the case for a while, because even operating in Guyana, while we have been doing well, we have one location, and it's really concentrated in Georgetown, Guyana. That's where we have targeted targeted or lending, and the portfolio represents about 5%, and I believe that profit is somewhere consistent with the size relative to the size of the portfolio.
Okay. Simon is asking, is there an embedded risk in Ultra model in monetizing collateral?
That Simon wants me to Simon wants me to share my company policy with him. Yeah, but there are the policies that we use. Again, they're really similar to that of Jamaica, and the focus really is on lending and building those relationships. So when we do accept the collateral, then the main aim is for the customer to repay, so we can release those collaterals.
Okay, Simon, you just said Michaela and a question mark. Can you is that a complete question? Can you rephrase it or let me know if it's an previous one that you had asked? I'll give you a minute to retype if you have to, because I think those are all our questions. So Kenroy, I'll just ask you to, I know all the questions were kind of centered around Guyana, but clearly persons are interested to know what have went into the decision and how things are shaping up for you going forward. So I'll just ask you to kind of comment on what do you see as the way forward for Dolla Financial. I mean, you'd have spent months processing this decision. So now what would you say to your investors in terms of how they should look at things for the next few months or even years?
I believe, Jermaine, that the decision that was taken from the management, from the board level to wind down Guyana, it's not a light decision. This is a market again that we have been we even had plans to expand in this market, and we kind of rolled back on those plans based on all of the development. And it's not an easy decision, but I do believe that we're confident that this decision is one that is in the best interest of the future growth of the company, and ensure that it's a decision that ensures that there's greater potential for returns for investors, and Jamaica is a market that is able to do that for us now. I believe that our investors are in a better position based on this decision that has been made. It's a tough decision, but it is one that was necessary to us based on all the developments.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that, Kenroy. I believe that we'll be hearing from you more at the earnings call. That's, as we said, it's about a month away. So anyone who is watching this replay, if you have any further questions, leave them in the comments below this video. If we're not able to answer your question now, you can do the same, and we'll just add it to our question pool for the earnings call. So Kenroy, anything else that you'd like to add before we close out this interview?
That's it for me, Jermaine. We have a call coming up, as you said, in another month. And on that call, we'll be able to share highlights of our Q1 performance. But you can expect to see that consistent trajectory of growth that you have been seeing over the last several quarters. We're a team that is committed. It's not I'm on this interview, but it's not a Kenroy show. It's really a dedicated team at Dolla Financial that is just pushing to ensure that the company remains viable and the company continues to return a level of to produce returns at a level that is really great for our investors.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kenroy. Really appreciate the time. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Jermaine. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. I hope we got, I'm just seeing 2 more questions in the chat. Reconstruction of mindset. Was there extensive market research done? So Kenroy would have mentioned that they've been processing the decision for months now. So it implies that they would have, carefully deliberated the decision. So, but what I'll do, since this was not answered, I'll just note it for the earnings call. And TY was asking, how is your non-performing loan percentage calculated? I'm sure that's a question that we answered on our earnings call before, But again, I'll ask the team about it and probably just share it under the video. So TY and reconstruction, I'll ask you to just post your question as a comment under this video on YouTube, and we'll just be sure that it's answered at the next earnings call.